Hey guys, welcome to Indie Game Hustle. My name is Charles. In this video, we're going to do things a little different. We're going to take a quick look at some changes that I made to the project while you weren't looking. So basically, these changes were things that I've done on the back end, things that I was just working on. And so I'm going to go ahead and show those things, okay? So one of the first things I want to take a look at is the actual player. All right, so while I was thinking about the level and designing a level or blocking out a level, I was thinking about the jumping, and I went ahead and decided to remove the double jump, and I also removed how high or reduced how high he can jump. Okay, and so now he can't jump over anything that's like 2 meters tall. Okay, so he can do like a cube, which is about 1 meter, and then like 1.5 meters, right? But anything higher than that 1.5 meters is going to be tough for him to get up. Okay, so that's one of the first changes that I made to the player. Okay, great. All right, so another thing, let's take a look at. Let's see here, and I didn't memorize everything. Let's see here. Yep, so the next thing is going to be the actual attacking of our player and the enemy. Now, I don't know if you remember, but there was a time in one of the videos where I had it set up where the player would, when the enemy attacked the player, and even if we had our player blocking, it would reduce the health of our player. And that wasn't the effect that we were going for, but I was waiting for a workaround for that. And so now, as you can see, I'm able to block, and the only thing that's reducing is, of course, defense and the poise and everything there. So so now that stuff is working as it should. And let me just go ahead and try to show you what that looks like. All right. All right, so the first thing you want to take a look at here is your player. And so I'm going to double click on the player, and I'm going to go into our player. And let's see here. What we're going to do is first look at the player in terms of receiving attack. We have a new mechanic here, and this attack this mechanic is going to be a receive attack. So the idea is when the enemy attacks the player, it's going to trigger this here. This trigger, meaning receiving damage. Okay, and then I have an action here. And this action, all this action is doing is taking the player and then the attribute health and then subtracting a value. Okay, and then so this value that I have here is a variable that I created. And I'm going to go ahead and show you those. And that first one is going to be, and you can name this anything you want, but this variable is basically just 1. And so I just set it as 1, okay? And I just named it. If you're not familiar with these tags, these different colors here, you can use these for organizing. But what you can do is go to edit tags. You would create the tag here, and then you would give it a color, and then you'll just simply select it from the list. All right, so you have a variable here and you have a value, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and move that over to the side here. All right, so basically whenever an enemy attacks the player, it's going to reduce the value of this variable. Now you're thinking, all right, well, I don't want every enemy to only reduce 1. Well, we can actually edit that by looking at the attack clips. So what I'm going to do now is show you on the other end how the enemy has the same thing. So your enemy is going to also have a trigger called on receive attack, and it's going to have, when it receives damage, it's going to have an action, and it's going to have the same thing. It's going to be the target, which is going to be the enemy, the enemy's player here, and it's going to be their health, and then it's going to subtract a value. Now you can have a different amount for this, but for now let's just keep it at 1 in terms of this value. So now let's look at the player. So down here where you see the my attack 1, 2, and 3, each one of these attacks are going to increase that variable value when it attacks. And so that's how we're going to help differentiate between each attack, thus changing the actual attack power when the player attacks the enemy. Okay, and then you can do that the other way around as well. Okay, so for instance, if I look at my attack 1, it says on hit. So when this player hits the enemy, we want to simply add a value to this variable attack. And then it's going to wait for this long, and then it's going to revert back to the value of 1. So basically, by looking at this isn't going to actually change the variable at all, because it's basically the attack variable plus 0, and that's just the same value. But on the second attack, if you land the second attack, it's going to be this variable plus 2, which is 3. Okay, and then after the time, and then it's going to revert back to 1. And then if you look at my attack 3, it's going to be this variable plus 3, and then it's going to revert back to 1. All right, so let's take a look at that and see what that looks like. All right, I'm going to go back out, and I'm going to select my enemy here, and I'm just going to quickly look at what he has so you can see it. All right, so on receive attack, so remember, every enemy or player is going to have an on receive attack. It's going to receive damage, so this is triggered when they receive damage, and then this is the action that will play. So in my case, I put a little bit of weight here, so like 0.05, and then after that, it's going to subtract the health of our enemy by that variable. Okay, so what's going to happen really is when the player hits this enemy, this variable's value will not be 1. If he hits him with the second attack, it's going to be what? 3. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at that in motion here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play. All right, great. So I'm going to go ahead and target this enemy, and I'm going to try to miss the first attack. All right, I'm going to try to hit him on the second time, though. Let's see here. 1, boom. All right, great. So he disappeared, and so you're probably wondering, he's gone after 1 hit. Well, remember, the first hit is 1, right? 1 plus 0, which is 1, but the second hit was the variable value, which is 1, and then it adds 2, so it's 3. And so if we were to take a look at that enemy's actual health pool, let's take a look here. I'm going to select the enemy. We're going to go down and take a look at what their health max is, and as you can see, it's 3. So you know it's working. So basically the second attack is going to hit for 3 damage, and so it actually clears the enemy. So for instance, if I were to hit the enemy, I can hit the enemy 3 separate times as long as I only hit them with the first attack. All right, so if I go here, 1, see, 2, 3, right? All right, cool. So as you can see, that's working properly. Now the spider, for instance, I don't have a targetable on him set because this is all just testing, but the spider's health currently is 5. So if I were to hit him with the first and second attack, he should still be alive, I believe. So if I go 1, if I go 1, 2. All right, so let me see here. I think I hit him with the third attack, and so that's what ended up happening. So he's dead after that point. All right, cool. So we definitely see that working. And so that's how you would want to approach the using the variables to be able to kind of change your different attacks to have different attack powers, which is originally what I wanted to do. So this actually works out pretty good. Now, is this the best way to do it? I'm sure there's other ways to go about it. I believe that you can use formulas to probably get a lot of this done. But I'm not going to really get into using formulas. I don't really want to get that complex I want to keep it as simple as possible, something that we all can understand. I haven't really dived into formulas yet. I don't really think this game is going to need any formulas, but if we do touch on it, of course, I'll have a video on it. Cool. So definitely make that change to your project. Of course, if you have any questions about this particular part, just reach out to me in Discord and I'll walk you through it if it doesn't make any sense. And if you really need a separate video just for this, let me know in the comments and I'll get that going. Cool. All right. So another thing I wanted to take a look at was the controls of our player. All right. So what I want to do here is I'm going to go ahead and shoot us over to another page here. I'm going to take us over to our world. I'm going to go to our menus, and then I'm going to head over to main menu. All right. And this is another change that I made. And so the reason I made this change is mainly so that I can start really putting in place permanent controller and keyboard buttons, right? We want to make sure everything is mapped properly and so that we know exactly what buttons are what they're supposed to do going forward. And so what I did was I created an additional panel in my settings menu. Now I'm not going to go over all the details of how to create a panel. I've already done that in another video. So all you have to do is kind of replicate what you see here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and show the settings. And then I'm going to open this up. And as you can see, I have another panel created within the settings menu called controls page. So I'm just going to go ahead and click that just to show you that page. And what you can see here is I created an image that shows all the different button layouts for both the keyboard and the joystick or gamepad. Okay. And so this is what I will be using pretty much to the end of this project. If anything changes, of course, I'll let you know, but this is pretty solid because I have everything working pretty well. All right, so you can see I have movement, I have an action and pickup for Z, I have shift for run, I have the space bar for jumping and also climbing, which I'll show that briefly here. And then I have blocking for the right mouse button, left mouse button for selecting, of course, and attacking, C for crawling, Q for targeting, and E for cycling through those targets. Okay. And then, of course, for the joypad, as you can see, some things here. I have targeting for the button. What is that? The top bumper button on the left, and then the right is blocking. But as you can see in the back here, I have the run changed up. Okay. And so I'm going to have to do a separate video for this, because what I'm doing here is I'm using a script to work with the actual triggers of the controller. So I actually have the left and the right trigger working, but in this particular configuration, I'm only actually using the left trigger for running. Okay. And then I also can do pretty much the same video for the D-pad if you want to use the D-pad as well. Because the D-pad and those triggers, they actually aren't necessarily buttons. They're actually using the axes. Okay, so the back triggers are using what they call the third axis. And then the D-pad is using, I believe, either the 6th and the 7th axes. And so we're going to have to get those working. So I already have those working. I just need to do a video to show you guys how to use it. But it's already super easy, so don't even worry about it. All right, and I'll show a little bit of it here today. All right, and then of course we have attacking for X, crawling for Y, action, pickup, and cycling the targets for the B, and then jump, climb, confirm selection for A. All right, great. And so that's where we're going to go with that. All right. And so just to show this in motion here, I'm going to take you to another page. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off, and then go ahead and turn this off, and then I'll go ahead and hit play. And as you can see here, everything is as it is. So settings, now I just have a button called controls, and it's just going to go ahead and show me this page, and we go back. Now all of this is going to look better once we have the prototype more fleshed out, but for now this is just kind of putting some things in place. Okay. All right, cool. So this works, and so that's there. All right. Now, if you need like an image of this or something, I can link that in the Discord, and you guys can download it, or just let me know, and I can possibly get this over to you. All right. All right, cool. All right, so I'm going to head over to another scene here, and this scene is going to be here, and I don't think I need to save anything here. All right, and let's get closer to some objects here. And in this scene, what I was doing here is actually gray blocking out some ideas in terms of the level. And so what I'm going to do here is just kind of show you kind of those buttons working as they should. And then I'm going to show you that in terms of the D-pad and then also the joystick axis here. Okay, so I'm going to hit play here. All right, great. All right, so I'm using the keyboard right now, and you're not going to see these values change because this is not the joystick, right? But as you can see, I'm currently moving around and I'm able to run and all of that. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and pick up the joystick. All right, and so I have my joystick here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and hold down the left trigger. And as you can see here in the bottom in terms of the variables here, this variable is a third axis variable. And so when I hold down the left trigger, it's going to give me a -1 to 0. And if I hold down the right, it's going to give me a 0 to +1. All right, and so the same thing can be said for the D-pad as well. Now, I don't actually think I have those set up because I'm not using the D-pad, but it would be the same thing as where it would have the same -1, the positive, and all of those sorts of things for that. So I'll do that in another video. I don't want to get too mixed up here, but I just wanted to show you that that is definitely working. And so I'll have a script for you guys to download, and I'll put that in the hub. So in the next video or another video, I don't know which video we'll do this in, but if you need this, let me know, and I'll get that going as quickly as I can. So let me go ahead and move this out of the way. All right, great. And so now, as you can see, everything is coming along pretty well. You know, we're 40 videos in, and I think we're doing a great job of kind of putting this project together, and we're starting to get some things going here. Of course, let's recap. We got the HP there. We got our lives there. We have our defense and poise listed. We are able to attack. We can run. We can crawl. We can do all types of things. Pick up. We can swim if we want to have a swimming. We have camera changing as well, and I showed that in another video. This is the part where I was talking about in terms of jumping between platforms. If I had a double jump, it would almost be unnecessary in a lot of cases for climbing and things like that. So here as well, we also have being able to target. And so as you can see, I'm targeting. Now, this was something else that I did change as well. Now, right now, we're standing in between these guys here. And what I wanted to do was to reduce the distance between the target that you can target. So what I did is I reduced it down to 7 for the radius. And so now, when you're about right here, these two guys are only in play. If I was only right here, these two are in play, but between here and here, it's probably over 7 meters here. If I were to back up about right here, it's only going to be this one guy here. And of course, if I go between here and here, it's going to be between these two. So that's pretty good. And then if I go to the controller, which is great, I can target, I can let go of the target if needed. I can retarget there. And if I hit my B button on my controller, I can retarget as well. It's great. As I get further away, it only targets these two. As I get too far, it breaks it. If I get back in, it's going to retarget. And if I want to break it completely, I can. So that's really nice. All right. All right, so far everything is looking good and we're making some progress. It seems slow and it can feel that way, but I think it's just important to kind of take your time and just do one thing at a time, with each video kind of building on the next, right? All right, so what I'm going to show you now is me using the Traversal module. This is kind of me playing with the Traversal module, trying to get used to it and trying to understand how it works. And so far, I do have something here to show here. So what I'm going to do is just jump. And as you can see, we have our player there traversing, being able to get on the ledge and go. All right, so there's a few things going on here. So basically, if I were to fall off, and if I hit the jump button right when I'm on the edge, he's going to grab the edge. But if I run and don't hit that jump button, he's going to fall off. And then, of course, the player died. Okay. All right. So, of course, everything is, again, working very nicely. The lives are reducing. We're going to come back into the scene, and everything is going to reset. So that's great. All right. So back over here. So if I were to jump and do that, as you can see, I'm holding on to the ledge. Now, because of the view and the style that I'm going about this, and I'll talk about this in another video, a more detailed video about using the Traversal module for this, but I'm only going to have it to where wherever he falls or grabs, that's where he'll go. So I'm not going to have it to where he can move along the edge or anything like that. We're not going to do that in this case. All right, so what I want to do here is show you some more things. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and head over here. So, of course, again, the jumping is pretty cool. And we'll go into the Traversal module in more detail. My goal, of course, is to use something from every module just to implement it into the scene, okay? And so I think that's going to be really great, okay? So as you can see already, I'm starting to think out some level ideas. And what I'm going to do with this, as you can see also, is that I'm going to go with a fixed camera using the follow. And for me, that's going to give me a lot of, I guess you can call it control. And I think it's going to give a lot of control. I'm not going to go with the adventure camera for this project, but of course you can use the adventure camera for your project. If that's the style that you want to roll with, I say go for it. Okay, but for me, I love being able to control the camera and have it based on based on where I'm at, and I can position it exactly the way that I want you to see it as a player. Okay. All right, cool. All right, so let's see here. Let's see if there's anything else that I wanted to cover here. Yes, there is one more thing. So, of course, when you fall off, the player does die. Now, I can't remember, someone brought this up, and that they didn't see how I created a death, like a death cube, or when you fall off a space, when the player lands and hits it, it kills them or whatever. So I don't remember if I made that in another video. Maybe someone can show me that video, but if I didn't, that's fine. My bad. Let me go ahead and show you very quickly what that looks like. And it's actually really simple. So if I didn't, let me show you here. And let's see here. All right, so here what we have is this cube here. And all this is a cube that is not rendered. Now you can do this many ways. You can create an empty game object with a collider, or in my case, I'm just using let's see here. If you're using Pro Builder, let's see here. Do I still have Pro Builder installed? I do. So if you're using Pro Builder, you can say create a shape. I'm going to create this shape. I'm going to zoom in on it. And I'm just going to go ahead and just expand it and bring it out a little bit. And so say this is the shape. Say this is what you want to land into. So what you can do is set it as a trigger, or set it as a collider, but it really is set it as a trigger. And what you can do is actually make it like transparent. So you can see through it, and when the game plays, you don't see it, okay? And so what you're doing is, after that, what you're doing is going to here. As you can see, I have an object here. My object in this case is actually a UModeler object. Let's see, in terms of UModeler, let me show you how to do that as well. So I'm going to create a cube. And inside of UModeler, there is an option here. And if you click on this little gear for this cube, you can do invisible in play mode. And so now we have this cube. And it's going, whatever texture, I changed my texture, but you can, it has a built-in texture, but I changed my texture so that I can have it a little bit more like yellow or whatever. But it's whatever, it's up to you what you want it to be. So I'll go ahead and delete this one, this Pro Builder one. And so it's just pretty much the same concept here. All right, so once you have a cube, all you have to do is select that cube, and I'll just look at my own cube since it's that simple. I renamed it Deathfall Cube. And all I did was I put a trigger on it. And this trigger, all it is on player enter, and then I have an action. And all this action is doing is literally changing the player's health to subtract like a crazy value. And remember, the reason this works is because we have the player recognizing when its health has been reduced. So by default, when the health is reduced lower than, right, anything less than 0 or less is going to trigger the death mechanic, right? And it's going to create this domino effect. And so that's actually all I'm doing. All right, cool. I hope that made a lot of sense. And of course, if you have any questions, reach out to me. It's just crazy. We're so many videos in, and I hope this is going good for you guys. I thank you guys for, for your support, and I'm definitely going to keep going and adding more. And of course, let me know if you have any questions, if there's anything you want to see specifically. But I am definitely going to try to gear this towards basically a 3D platformer. That is the goal, is to make a 3D platformer, and of course using Game Creator and using some functionality from every single Game Creator module. Now again, I'm not going to use every single feature from every module, but it's just to touch on everything so that you can see how it all kind of works together. All right. So of course, reach out to me anytime. I'm always in Discord, and I will see you guys later. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. To stay up to date on the latest 3D platforming tutorial, feel free to subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support, you can find me on Patreon, or of course you can hit me up on Discord. I like to talk about whatever project you guys are working on. Of course, thanks for hanging with me. Your support is always appreciated. As always, remember, never give up and keep moving forward. Peace.